Hi, part threes. I'm going to try to do a quick video to fill in the gaps here of what I wasn't able to teach on Wednesday to you guys during our Google Meet. And I got a chance to do most of this today on our Saturday Google Meet. But with both groups, I didn't get a chance to do really the intro to this activity, if this makes any sense. So this might help you personally understand how to approach the teachings on sexuality with your kids. In addition to what we already learned, it might help you. Okay, so before I get into the lesson that I would share, I always do this intro with having people understand the impact of their part in decision making. Because ultimately we are decision makers. So God created us as decision makers with free will, with all these different gifts and this incredible gift of sexuality. Okay, so we're going to address that gift in a moment. But let's just break it down and just look at the impact of our lives as we make decisions. So I always start with something as simple as the snooze. We've all pressed the snooze. Okay, I was queen of the snooze near the end of my career. I was so tired, right? We think, oh, harmless. Some of us even set up our clocks to make sure that we have these increments of pressing the snooze. And we all know it doesn't help. We can look at the statistics and all that. But let's just take a look at that one action that we all can relate to, especially when we're exhausted, right? So we press the snooze, we press it another time, and then we go beyond our designated amounts of time that we press the snooze. What happens? Seems pretty harmless, but you get up, you're frantic, you're going to be late. So you start cutting things out of your morning, right? You're, okay, maybe I won't wash my hair today. Maybe I won't eat breakfast. I'll just grab that on my way out. So already, just with you that one harmless decision about pressing the snooze has impacted how you're going to feel about yourself for the rest of the day. You're not going to have clean hair. Sounds minor, but that could impact how you feel the rest of the day, right? And how you present yourself to others and how that's going to impact you, right? Grabbing something unhealthy to eat, that's going to have an impact on you. Now, factor in, it's not just you. You've got a family. You're going to grumble at your spouse. The routines are going to be messed up in terms of using the bathroom and all that. You're going to kick the cat, you're going to yell at your kids. Okay, so your decision to have 5 more minutes on the snooze has now had this ripple effect on what's going on in your household. Let's take it out of the house for a second. We get on the road, we start driving. Now we're going to make decisions. And they could be pretty harmless decisions, right? But now we're kind of panicked, we're distracted, we haven't done things that perhaps we need in our morning to get us going in a healthy way. We're starting to drive a little faster because we're short on time, right? And we start to make decisions. Now we're going to take that yellow. Most times it's pretty good. We make it through. We don't, hurt anyone. But maybe because we're in a rush, maybe we would have either already gone through that light or we would have taken the time to stop if we weren't in such a hurry because we know that we really weren't going to clear it. We're going to go anyways. And what if there's an accident? And what if somebody gets hurt? And what if somebody dies? Not so harmless anymore. And I know this may seem dramatic, but that is part of the whole decision-making scheme. Now, let's say we made it to work on time. We didn't hurt anyone. We managed to make it through all the lights. There were no accidents. Okay, but now again, you've just affected your household. Maybe you were grumpy and angry at them. Maybe you're doing the same thing to your first class or to your colleagues or the people in your workroom or something where you just don't feel yourself because you had this rush. You didn't have to, you missed out on things that make you feel good about starting your day. Okay, I could go on, but that's just one example of human nature and decision making that we can all relate to. So now let's go into the back seat of the car that we were driving earlier. Just joking. Let's talk about sex. Okay. So when I talk about this, you could do this with your kids. I always wanted to drive as a teenager. One of the things I really wanted to do, besides being a teacher, I wanted to be a driver. So at 13, I was tall. I had a growth spurt. I was tall. I could sit in my dad's car. I could see properly, hold the steering wheel, reach the gas and the brake pedal easily. And I was frustrated because I thought, why can't I be a driver? Because all I wanted to do was drive my dad's car. Right? Huge station wagon, looked like an 18-wheeler. But anyways, and so of course daddy's little girl, I drove the car up around the cottage. We didn't get caught, but I just needed to drive, right? But there are rules in place in our society for a reason. At 13, even though physically I was ready to drive, emotionally, mentally, I was not. My reaction, like the impulse that we have to brake, to react, is not developed yet in terms of someone that young, where you get distracted. We're not there yet, right? The responsibility of being a driver on the road, we haven't matured enough to take that on. Even at 16, 17, 18, we're still a bit immature, but we're already getting to that point where we could start taking on that responsibility, right? And so the law then puts us there. That's where the law says, okay, at this point, it's good to put, a developing human being behind the wheel of the car with all these checks and balances and tests and all that stuff that you need to go through to get there to be safe on the road. But are we safe on the road? Can we just drive without any rules and regs? Absolutely not. It would be a disaster. The 401 is a disaster anyways, even without the rules and regs, right? I was driving home yesterday on the 401. You get caught up in the speed. 120 seems to be the natural speed, but the sign says 100. At one point you feel like, okay, already I'm at 140. People are passing me at 140. That's where I start to slow down, because I personally realize this is way too much. If I have to stop on a dime, if something else happens up ahead, I won't be able to stop in time. I'll be one of those the mess on the 401 and hopefully not die. So I pull out of that fast lane. I then slow down to a reasonable speed, even though I'm still technically going over 100. But that 100 is still looming there. I know that the law decided that's about where we should be on that road, even though other people are making decisions. And we see all the time the effects of that decision. There's pileups, there's accidents, human nature, right? So we could relate, to these, road signs that I have. I used to do this lesson with road signs, and I used to draw it on the board. So a colleague of mine was really nice when I was teaching when I was a consultant in the board office. She printed off all these signs and laminated them, and I put a magnet on it, so when I teach, I can slap them on a whiteboard. But I've got all these road signs, and then when I teach this, I talk about that, the need for laws. And why are there laws like this? Why can't I just drive as fast as I want on the highway? Well, it impacts human dignity. It impacts the fact that someone could get hurt or die because I didn't know my limits. I was just thinking about me and the thrill of driving fast. That doesn't work in society, because dignity of human life can be affected. And I'm using church language there. Secular society doesn't use the word dignity of human life. Okay? And the same thing, when I talk about, I use the example of a school zone, right? We all know why school zones come down to 40 or even lower. Some places it's even 30. Because we've got vulnerable children that could fall into the path of the car because they're at the age where they're not responsible. They're running after their ball. They're running after each other. They're not as concerned with the environment around them. And honestly, the younger you are, the more you don't think you're going to die. You don't think you're going to get hurt. So you take greater risks. Right? So we have to take care of our vulnerable. So when we hit a school zone, we have to go 40. Will we do that naturally ourselves? Of course not. To drive 40 is painful. If you've ever driven down Rathburn Road from the 401 to about Renforth, it's a 40 all the way. It is painful. But there's a lot of schools on that road. So it is slow. What's going to keep us at that speed? Certainly not this. We will slow down when we know that there may be radar, there might be a cop. A cop might stop us. We'll get charged with a ticket. But for some people, that's not even enough. They'll pay the ticket. They're not going to be concerned. They'll take their chances, totally disregarding the human dignity of why we're slowing down. So what's going to stop us? Speed bumps, big speed bumps. And why are we going to slow down? because our car might get damaged. Our car might get damaged, right? Not this, our car. This is human nature. So when you're talking about sexual ethics with your kids, put it into a context of things they can relate to. Why do we have laws in society? Where could we get hurt if we didn't follow these laws, or at least use these laws to in our decision making process? From the snooze to the school zone. The dignity of human life can be affected if you are not a good decision maker, and that if you don't use wisdom from others to guide you into protecting the dignity of human life, someone could be hurt. You could be hurt. Someone's life might be lost. And this is something, a way of helping your kids see. You don't have to jump in with the church teachings. Jump in with the human nature part of it and our decision-making abilities and disabilities, right? And why we need guidance. Why do we need the wisdom of government, parents, church? And sometimes the wisdom that we seek or listen to is really not wisdom when we are kids and we're looking at popular culture, right? So they need help in discerning that. They need your help to understand the voice of authority, the voice of wisdom, and the voice that's going to protect the dignity of human life, starting with their own dignity. And in terms of what is precious to them, what's precious in their life that they want to protect. And that's their dignity, their self-worth, their ability to love and be loved. And they can't do that on their own because they're growing into themselves. They haven't arrived at maturity. They're busting out because of hormones, and they don't want to hear about it from authority because we know nothing. They know everything. We've all gone through that in terms of adolescence. So how do we gently and lovingly help them figure this out on their own as decision makers? They need to hear that voice of reason that offsets the noise of the secular culture. And we could be it. So, as I said earlier, we're not going to stop them from making bad decisions. We're not going to stop them from having sex, but we have to help them in the decision-making process they make, so even when they make a mistake, they can find a path to healing. Because if they don't have those different voices, if they don't have that healing, loving voice, then they can be stuck in that car and no one's going to be able to get them out of it, and they're going to be sitting there broken. The church, at least, or that voice of healing, can get them out of that car into healing. I'm still putting in the car analogy in there. Hope this helps. Anyways, we keep learning, we keep going, and if you got questions, ask me. Peace.